Today we're looking at the Southern Colonies. Hello, welcome to the Daily Bellringer. Please don't forget to subscribe and take a look at the questions down in the description. So today we're looking at the Southern Colonies, which included Maryland, Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia. And it's extremely important to note that the Southern Colonies, for the most part, had a climate that was well suited for year-round agriculture. So many large plantations, which were large-scale farms growing crops such as tobacco, rice, sugar, and indigo, and cotton to sell for profit and not to consume for themselves, began to appear. These plantations required a lot of people to work to plant and harvest crops. And this is where we unfortunately see the growth of slavery in America. So after the first enslaved Africans were brought to the English colonies at Jamestown in 1619, the demand for more labor just grew and grew. Slavery did exist in the New England and Middle Colonies, but this huge need for labor in the South spurred the growth of slavery there. And initially, or at first, this need for labor was primarily filled by indentured servants, who were people that worked without pay for a master for a set period of time, usually 7 years. In exchange, the plantation owner usually paid for the indentured servant's passage or trip to the colonies or America. But by 1676, a major shift from indentured servants to enslaved Africans being forced to work on these plantations began to occur. And I'll cover that in another bell ringer. Sir George Calvert, otherwise known as Lord Baltimore, was an English Catholic who wanted to find a safe place for Catholics to live without being persecuted or punished in England. And if you remember, in England, the church had split, or the Church of England had split from the Catholic Church in 1534, leaving anyone who was not part of the Church of England as an outsider. And in 1632, King Charles I gave Lord Baltimore a charter to start a proprietary colony just to the north of Virginia. And being a Catholic colony, it was named Maryland after Mary, the mother of Jesus. Although the colony was established as a safe haven for English Catholics, by 1619 enough Protestants, remember Protestants were people not of the Catholic faith, but there were so many Protestants that Catholics again faced the same persecution as they did in England. Interesting little side note, Calvert's family and the Penn family of Pennsylvania could not agree on the northern border between Maryland and Pennsylvania. So in the mid-1700s, they hired two men named Charles Mason and Jeremiah Dixon to draw a boundary and put up a stone wall to be the official line between Maryland and Pennsylvania. Hence we get the Mason-Dixon line, which has traditionally been held as the dividing line between North and South in America. Virginia, remember, was the first colony established by the Virginia Company of London at Jamestown. Virginia continued to grow rapidly, and as I talked about earlier, the need for labor was high, and that would lead to an event known as Bacon's Rebellion. But again, I'll cover that in another bell ringer. Continuing down the East Coast, in 1663, King Charles II established a proprietary colony called Carolina, which means Charles Land in Latin. Charles divided the land between 8 nobles who rented or sold the land to colonists coming to settle there. Charlestown, which would later become Charleston, was the primary harbor for the southern part of the colony, where the primary crops were rice and indigo, which indigo was a flower used to dye cloth. But again, these crops required a lot of labor, which further contributed to the growth of slavery. In the early 1700s, people in the northern part of the Carolina colonies wanted political power, and so in 1729, the Carolina colony broke into North and South Carolina. Georgia would be the last English or British colony set up in America. In 1733, James Oglethorpe received a charter to create a colony just north of Spanish-controlled Florida. Oglethorpe's plan was that Georgia would be a place for poor Englishmen and to make a fresh start and be a safe place for debtors. Remember, at the time in England, if you owed someone money or were in debt to someone, you could be thrown in debtor's prison. The English basically viewed Georgia as a buffer between their colonies further north and the Spanish in Florida. I guess they figured, if the Spanish attacked, they would have to get through Georgia first before reaching colonies that I guess you would say they actually cared more about. So with that, hopefully you learned something, and thanks for watching.